I remember a scene like this one. I was in Benin City, capital of Edo State in southern Nigeria. We were driving around with my host, looking for fuel, and we kept encountering scenes like this one. That was more than 10 years ago. But this scene here is just 1 week ago. Why is it that Nigeria, Africa's leading oil producer, has been experiencing chronic oil shortages for decades? What must be done to address this once and for all? To get an answer to these questions, let's take a look at the newly operational Dangote Oil Refinery. It has taken $19 billion and at least 7 years to complete the Dangote Oil Refinery. It sprawls across land that is roughly the size of 4,000 football fields, touted as the largest single-train refinery in the world. It will solve Nigeria's decades-long migraine headache of spending billions of dollars to import refined oil. It will do so by churning out a staggering 650,000 barrels of refined oil per day. That will consign scenes like this to the past and save Nigeria billions. Despite its potential, Dangote Refinery has met fierce resistance from Nigeria's CRE, corrupt ruling elite, and international oil companies. Meet Farouk Ahmed, head of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Regulatory Agency. He'll tell us the official reason why the ruling elite are fighting Dangote. And then I will tell you the real reason.
So, and as a regulator, we have to give a level playing field to ensure that there's competition, and there's choice. But we cannot allow anyone to take advantage of the consumer.
Basically, Farouk, on behalf of the government, is accusing Dangote of monopolizing the market, putting the nation's energy security at risk, and flooding it with subpar diesel. Ahmed even asserted that Nigeria would have to keep importing fuel to curb Dangote's dominance. But I'm gonna tell you what he will not tell you. Before I do that, please note that Dangote has been accused of monopoly for a long time. For years, some in Nigeria have claimed that wherever Dangote sets up shop, he ends up dominating that sector so thoroughly that other businesses struggle to survive. But that's the harsh truth of capitalism. Those with the most capital inevitably control the market. And let's be honest, if Dangote weren't in the oil refinery game, foreign multinationals would have swooped in to fill the gap, just as they have done in other businesses across much of Africa. Before I go on, let me categorically state that Dangote is no saint. Dangote Oil Refinery, just like other big business conglomerates in the world, plays a zero-sum game in which people have to lose in order for them to gain. I will address that at the conclusion of this video. Back to Farouk Ahmed and other ruling elites. Here is what they will not tell you. They will not tell you that Dangote's refinery isn't the only one in Nigeria. Nope. There are 4 aging state-owned refineries located in Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna. They have a supposed capacity of 445,000 barrels per day together. However, despite multiple repair attempts over the years, these refineries have been left dormant. Nigeria has poured a staggering $7.5 billion into their repairs, yet none of them are operational, even as staff continue to draw salaries. In 2021, the government awarded a $1.5 billion upgrade contract to Italian company Tecnimont for them to repair the Port Harcourt refinery. As a quick side note here, most of the times when Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, Congo, and multiple other African governments award multi-million-dollar contracts, millions of those dollars end up in the pockets of the CRE, corrupt ruling elite. Nigeria's ruling elite will not tell you why Dangote Oil Refinery or any local oil refinery for that matter is a game changer. not just for Nigeria, but for Africa. So let me tell you 5 reasons why local oil refining is long overdue and why we need to support it. Africa has been shackled to the legacy of colonization in more ways than one. But few chains are as binding as our dependence on foreign oil. For decades, Nigeria has been extracting raw oil, shipping it away, only to buy it back at a premium, in the process bleeding foreign exchange reserves dry. Local oil refining will help retain foreign exchange within Nigeria, freeing the country from dollar shackles. The second reason for local oil refining fills me with so much joy. There's a dream on the horizon, one that has been whispered in the corridors of African Union summits. This dream speaks of a continent united by trade that transcends borders, the African Continental Free Trade Area. It's the fuel hastening realization of that dream. Dangote's refinery fits squarely into that dream. By refining oil right here in Africa, for Africa, the Dangote Oil Refinery is making the trade of petroleum products across the continent a reality. It pushes Africa towards a future where oil supply chains are rooted in African soil, not reliant on the whims of far-off suppliers. The Nigerian dream has often felt like a nightmare, a place where opportunities are scarce and hope even scarcer. Unemployment has become an albatross around the neck of Nigeria's youth. With its capacity of 650,000 barrels per day, the refinery will create thousands of jobs across various sectors, from logistics to manufacturing. These will develop local expertise in refining and petrochemicals, which will catalyze industrial growth, not just in Nigeria, but across the continent. For too long, African nations have been at the mercy of global oil prices. Every fluctuation, every spike in international crude prices reverberates across African economies, sending shockwaves through everything, from transportation to the price of goods in local markets. By providing a reliable and local source of refined petroleum, Dangote Refinery could significantly stabilize fuel prices across Africa. These will have a ripple effects, lowering the costs of transportation, goods, and services, ultimately benefiting both consumers and businesses across the continent. The fifth reason for local oil refining rings so true in every African ambition. For generations, the wealth of Africa has been extracted, mined, drilled, only to line the pockets of foreign companies. Dangote's refinery shifts the paradigm. Here is a refinery, the largest in the world, owned by an African, producing fuel for Africa. This local ownership promotes the self-reliance of African nations in managing and controlling their resources. It inspires every young African to say with conviction that I can build the next big thing, the next Apple, Samsung, or Walmart, right here in Africa. Finally, here are 3 reasons why Nigeria's ruling elite, together with international oil companies, will keep fighting Dangote and others who will dare to refine oil locally. The powerful oil importation cartels in Nigeria, long entrenched in the country's economy, see Dangote's refinery as a threat to their profits. These cartels have for decades benefited from the lucrative fuel import business and opaque fuel subsidy networks. By significantly reducing the need for imported fuel, the refinery disrupts that status quo, challenging the corrupt practices that have enriched Nigeria's corrupt ruling elite. President Tinubu's absence from the refinery's commissioning in 2023 only deepens the intrigue. His current silence could very well be the sound of complicity with oil cartels or not. Time will tell. For years, international oil companies have ruled Nigeria's oil industry like colonial overlords, setting terms, devouring profits, destroying the environment, and exacerbating economic disparity. Dangote's refinery is a direct challenge to their dominance. No longer will Nigeria need to send its crude overseas to be refined. No longer will the IOCs control the supply chains that have kept Nigeria in a state of dependency. It's no wonder these international oil companies are resisting. Dangote's success spells the end of their monopoly. It's up to the Nigerian government to ensure that the 4 state-owned refineries start refining oil. That way, Dangote will not remain a monopoly. Fuel subsidies have been a gold mine for Nigeria's elite. Dangote's refinery threatens to end all that by producing enough fuel to meet Nigeria's daily needs. The refinery eliminates the need for costly imports, rendering the entire subsidy system redundant. Unfortunately, subsidies across Africa usually pump billions into the pockets of corrupt elites. Now, we must hold the Dangote oil refinery fully accountable. They must not trample on the rights and needs of local communities, local people. Have all the people who were evicted from their ancestral lands to make way for the refinery been compensated? What about those whose traditional livelihoods like fishing and farming have been adversely affected? Have they all been compensated sufficiently? They have been severely affected due to environmental degradation from dredging and sand filling. Residents have also reported health risks associated with living in close proximity to the refinery, with concerns about toxic emissions and their impact on cancer rates in future. Human health can never be compromised. Dangote must ensure that the refinery doesn't create health hazards that are swept under the carpet, as is often the case. The refinery must invest heavily into local communities, from health centers to schools and sports facilities. Local communities and all Nigerians by extension must be the refinery's biggest beneficiaries. And here's a final word for now. Aliko Dangote's refinery marks a turning point for Nigeria and Africa. This historic refinery has rattled the old order, exposing the oil greed and corruption that have held Nigeria back for too long. Thankfully, this refinery holds the promise of energy independence, job creation, and continental economic integration and industrial growth across Africa. However, the very forces that stand to lose the most from this shift, Nigeria's corrupt ruling elite and the international oil companies, are resisting its success. We must resist these opposing forces and conquer them, not just for Dangote, but for all African investors who are tired of foreign and elitist domination of African industries. Let's transform Africa together.